You're listening to the Top One English Plus podcast.
If you are a regular listener, you know we usually take a stack of articles, research papers, and books, and we distill them down into one fascinating story. But today is a little different. Today we are looking at a story that is, well, it's still being written. We are looking at culture in real time.
It is great to be here. And you are so right. Usually we have the benefit of hindsight. We get to look at history that's already settled, 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
Today, we are looking at something that happened just a few days ago on Sunday, February 1st, 2026.
We are talking, of course, about the 68th Annual Grammy Awards, music's biggest night. And before we even get into who won what, I have to say, looking at all the coverage, reading the reviews from Billboard and the Associated Press, the vibe this year just felt different.
It really did. There was a different energy in the room.
Usually award shows can feel a bit, I don't know, scripted, a little safe. But this felt like we were watching a map being redrawn right in front of our eyes.
That is a perfect metaphor, a perfect one. If you looked at the map of the American music industry, even 5 or 10 years ago, the center of gravity was very, very specific.
Oh, absolutely.
It was overwhelmingly English-speaking. It was geographically centered in Los Angeles, New York, maybe Nashville, a little bit of London thrown in. And it definitely favored certain genres over others.
For sure.
What we saw at the Crypto.com arena this year was that center of gravity just shifting radically.
Shifting where, though?
Everywhere. I mean, truly everywhere. It shifted south to Puerto Rico and the rest of Latin America. It shifted east to South Korea. It went across the Atlantic to the African continent. It was a night where the American music industry finally seemed to acknowledge, on its biggest stage, that music truly is a global language.
I love that. And for our listeners joining us for this special Top One English Plus edition, that is our mission today. We aren't just going to list the winners. You can find that anywhere.
Right. That's just a list.
We are going to unpack why these wins matter. Look at the history they made, and importantly, look at the language that was used. Because there were some incredible, and I mean incredible, examples of advanced English vocabulary and Spanish and Korean used on that stage.
Absolutely. And, the way we talk about music, the words we choose, it tells us so much about how we talk about ourselves, our cultures, and where we see things going.
So let's unpack this. We have to start at the very top. The biggest award of the night, the Holy Grail, if you will.
Yeah.
Album of the Year.
This is the big one. And historically, this particular category has been the subject of, well, a lot of controversy.
That's putting it mildly.
People argue, and often rightly so, that the Grammys play it safe here. They give it to the biggest selling pop star or the legacy rock band that's been around forever.
Right, the safe bet. The one that won't make any waves.
Exactly. But this year, the envelope opened. Trevor Noah, in his last year hosting, by the way, after a great 6-year run.
Oh, that's right, his final show. He did a great job.
He did. He opened that envelope, and the name he read out was Debbie Tirar Mas Photos.
By Bad Bunny.
By Bad Bunny. And we really need to pause here and just sit with the weight of this moment. I mean, really absorb it.
Let's do it.
The Grammys have been around since 1959. That is 68 years of history, 68 years of awards. And all that time, an album sung entirely in Spanish has never won Album of the Year.
Never. Not once.
Never. Not once. We've had massive Latin pop explosions before. Think about Ricky Martin at the 1999 Grammys or the global phenomenon of Despacito a few years ago.
Sure, those were huge moments.
But usually, the industry requires those artists to cross over, to record in English, to get the big hardware, the top awards. Bad Bunny didn't do that. He won completely on his own terms, in his own language.
That is just incredible. It's like the industry finally caught up to reality. Because if you walk down the street in Miami or New York or Los Angeles or Houston, you hear this music everywhere. It's not foreign music, it's American music.
Yeah. Precisely. It's the soundtrack of the country as it exists today. And that brings us to our first major vocabulary concept for our deep dive. This win is what we would call a milestone.
A milestone. I like that word. It feels solid.
It does, doesn't it? It comes from history. Literally, a stone placed on the side of a road that tells a traveler how many miles they've covered on their journey.
Oh, I didn't know the origin. That's cool.
Yeah, but in this context, metaphorically, it means a significant stage in development, a turning point. Bad Bunny winning isn't just a cool moment. It is a milestone for cultural acceptance in the mainstream music industry. It marks the point where the language barrier in pop music officially collapsed.
And speaking of language, I want to talk about his acceptance speech. Because even though my Spanish is a little rusty, I would say very rusty, I could feel the emotion pouring out of him. He was switching back and forth between Spanish and English so fluidly.
He was. And that code switching, as it's called, is the lived reality for millions and millions of Americans. It wasn't a performance. It was just his authentic voice.
It felt so real.
But there was one specific phrase he used that I think flew right over the heads of a lot of non-Spanish speakers. A lot of the live blogs were sort of scrambling to figure it out. He said, "We are much bigger than 100 by 35.
100 by 35. I admit I was one of those people. My first thought was he was talking about numbers, maybe sales figures, chart positions, something like that.
A reasonable guess, but no. This is a perfect, and I mean perfect, example of a colloquialism.
Okay, let's break that down for everyone. What exactly is a colloquialism?
A colloquialism is a word or a phrase that isn't formal or literary. It's the language of ordinary, familiar conversation, and it's often very specific to a certain region or culture.
So like slang, but maybe a bit broader.
A bit broader, yeah. It's the language of home. In Puerto Rico, 100 by 35 refers to the physical measurements of the island in miles. It is roughly 100 miles long and 35 miles wide.
Oh, wow. So it's literally the size of the island. I had no idea.
Exactly. So if you look it up in a geography textbook, it's just a measurement of area. But colloquially, when a Puerto Rican says, "I am from the 100 by 35, it carries this deep emotional weight.
What kind of weight?
It's a statement of pride, but also an acknowledgement that they come from a physically small island. So when Bad Bunny stands on that global stage and says, "We are bigger than 100 by 35, he is using that colloquialism to say, our spirit, our culture, our talent, our global influence, it exceeds our physical borders. We are more than our size."
That is beautiful. It turns a simple geography fact into a poem about national pride and identity.
It really is poetry, and it fits so perfectly with the main theme of his speech, which he dedicated to, and I'm quoting here, all the people who had to leave their homeland to follow their dreams.
The dreamer narrative, it's such a powerful universal idea.
It is, and we should note, our sources mentioned there was some political charge in the air that night, particularly around issues of immigration. But Bad Bunny, he didn't make it a political lecture. He made it a human story. He focused on that universal experience of leaving home to chase a dream and find success.
Which is something so many of our listeners can relate to on a personal level. I mean, learning English is often part of that exact journey of leaving home, at least intellectually, to find new opportunities in the world.
Exactly right. He wasn't just accepting an award for an album. He was validating that entire journey for millions of people watching. And let's not forget, this wasn't his only win. He also took home Best Musica Urbana Album and Best Global Music Performance for his song EOO. So he didn't just break the ceiling, he completely smashed it.
He really did. But, he wasn't the only one breaking down barriers that night. We have to talk about a win that I just didn't see coming. And I consider myself pretty plugged in. We need to talk about the award for Best Song Written for Visual Media.
Ah, yes. This is where the lines between reality and fiction start to get a little blurry.
Very blurry. The winner was a song called Golden by a group called Hun Truck X.
Now, here's the thing. Hun Truck X isn't a real band, right? I mean, not in the traditional sense.
Well, that depends entirely on your definition of real in 2026, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They are the fictional K-pop group from the hit animated series K-pop Demon Hunters.
Wait, so an anime band won a Grammy?
In a way, yes. But we have to remember, behind the animation, there are real songwriters, real producers, and real vocalists performing the music.
Yeah.
The presentation is virtual, but the art is very real.
Wow.
And this is huge. I mean, it is a massive moment because it is the first time a K-pop act has won a Grammy.
That is wild. We've had these global juggernauts, BTS, Blackpink, selling out stadiums all over the world for years. They've been nominated before. But the first Grammy actually goes to the Demon Hunters. It's ironic, isn't it? But I think it speaks to how we consume media now. It's not a singular experience. We don't just listen to music on the radio or on a streaming playlist anymore. We experience it in shows, in video games, in short-form video clips. The visual context is becoming just as important as the audio itself.
And again, just like with Bad Bunny, the language aspect was front and center.
It was. The songwriters came up to accept the award, and they delivered their speech in both English and Korean. It just reinforced this theme of the night, this idea that the industry is finally becoming multilingual. You don't have to translate your art to be recognized anymore. Your art in its original form is enough.
We saw that with Tyla as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. Tyla winning Best African Music Performance for her track, Push H2 Start. This is a relatively new category,
Yeah.
and it is so, so important. For years, decades even, African artists were just kind of lumped into this vague world music category.
Which always felt a bit dismissive, like, here's a category for everything that isn't American or British.
Exactly. It was a catch-all. It treated the entire continent of Africa with its thousands of cultures and musical traditions as one single thing. By creating a specific, dedicated category for African music, the Recording Academy is finally saying, we see the nuance here. We understand the difference between Afro beats and Amapiano and high life. It is a fundamental mark of respect.
So we have Spanish, Korean, various African languages. The Grammy stage really did sound like the United Nations this year.
A very, very musical United Nations, yes.
The best kind. But, okay, while this map was expanding with all these incredible new voices, we also saw some giants cementing their place in history. We have to talk about the legends.
Yeah.
Because you cannot talk about this night without talking about Kendrick Lamar.
You certainly can. Kendrick Lamar had a night that most artists can only dream of having once in their entire career. He walked in with 9 nominations.
9. I mean, just being nominated for 9 is a win in itself. It's a lot of pressure.
It is, and he walked out with 5 awards: Best Rap Album for GNX, Best Rap Song, Best Melodic Rap Performance. He just cleaned up. It was a sweep.
But there is a specific statistic here that I think is the real headline, the one that makes you step back and go, wow.
The career total, yes. With these 5 wins, Kendrick Lamar has now won 27 Grammys in his career. And that number is significant because it moves him past Jay-Z.
So as to be clear,
Kendrick Lamar is now the most awarded rapper in Grammy history.
that feels like a changing of the guard, a monumental shift. Jay-Z has been the king of that hill for a very long time.
He has, and Jay-Z is obviously still a titan, a legend in every sense of the word. But this statistic shows just how critically acclaimed Kendrick is. The Academy loves him. And it's not just about one lucky year or one great album. The sources we looked at pointed out that GNX was his 5th consecutive studio album to be nominated for Album of the Year.
5 in a row for Album of the Year.
5 in a row. That is a record. No other artist has ever had that streak in the Album of the Year category. It shows a level of artistic consistency that is just, it's frightening, really. He doesn't miss.
He really doesn't.
That's right.
Speaking of missing, we have to talk about the Luther moment.
Oh, dear. Yes, we do.
Because even legends have off nights. Or in this case, the presenters of awards to legends have off nights.
This was a classic live TV moment, the kind of thing you can't plan for, and it just makes for unforgettable television.
So set the scene for us. We have the one and only Cher, the goddess of pop. She is on stage to present Record of the Year, which is arguably the second biggest award of the entire night.
Right, and the winner is the song Luther by Kendrick Lamar and SZA. Now, this song is a tribute. It's built around a sample, meaning it takes a piece of a recording from the legendary R&B singer Luther Vandross.
Who, we should clarify for anyone who doesn't know, passed away back in 2005.
Correct. A very important detail. So Cher opens the envelope. She sees the word Luther on the card, and something in her brain it skipped a beat. It made a different connection. Instead of saying, the winner is the song, Luther, she said, the winner is Luther Vandross.
I can only imagine the faces in that arena. For a split second, people must have been thinking, wait, what? Is this a hologram performance? Did we miss something?
It was a moment of pure, beautiful confusion. But, it's actually a great linguistic lesson. It shows how our brains prioritize information under pressure. She saw the name, her brain immediately associated it with the person she likely knew and admired, and she just blurted out the full name. It was a very human blunder.
I loved how Soundwave, one of the producers, handled it, though. He came up to accept the award, and he didn't correct her. He didn't make it awkward or embarrass her. He just shouted out the late, great Luther Vandross.
It was such a classy recovery, a really graceful way to handle a weird situation. And, in a way, Cher wasn't entirely wrong. The spirit of Luther Vandross was in that record. That is the beauty of sampling. It keeps the voices and the genius of the past alive in the music of the present.
That is a lovely way to look at it. It wasn't a mistake. It was an accidental tribute.
Exactly.
Speaking of tributes in history, we had another massive milestone involving a legend, this time from the world of cinema, Steven Spielberg.
Yes. The man who basically directed the imagination of anyone who grew up in the 80s and 90s. E.T., Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, the list goes on and on.
He won a Grammy for Best Music Film for producing a documentary called Music by John Williams. And this is so significant because it completes a very, very special set for him.
The EGOT.
EGOT. For our learners, can you explain what that is?
So the EGOT is considered the grand slam of American Entertainment Awards. It is the ultimate sign of versatility. It stands for Emmy for television, Grammy for music, Oscar for film, and Tony for theater.
And winning all four is incredibly rare.
Incredibly rare. Only a handful of people have ever done it. I think the number is around 20 or so in history. It puts you in a very, very exclusive club.
And now Steven Spielberg is on that list.
He is, and it feels so fitting, so perfect, that he got his Grammy by honoring his collaboration with John Williams.
His musical soulmate.
Truly. You cannot imagine a Spielberg movie without the music of John Williams. The Jaws theme. It's a shark swimming without that dun-dun-dun-dun. Star Wars is just spaceships and silence without that incredible fanfare. So for Spielberg to complete his EGOT by honoring the man who provided the soundtrack to his entire career, it's just poetic.
It really highlights how interconnected these art forms are. A movie isn't just pictures, it's sound, it's emotion. And clearly, the Academy is recognizing that connection more and more.
They absolutely are. And the whole night was full of those connections, honoring legends past and present.
Like the In Memoriam segment.
Yes, which paid tribute to some giants we lost, like Roberta Flack and D'Angelo. And then you had Lauryn Hill giving this incredibly rare performance.
For first time on the Grammy stage since 1999, right?
Since 1999. The nostalgia factor was off the charts. You could feel the whole room just captivated by her. It was a moment.
Okay, we've talked about the winners and the legends. But we have to talk about the show, the performances. Because, let's be honest, half the reason we tune in is for the drama, the costumes, the sets. We want to see a show.
We want a spectacle.
There's another great vocabulary word. Spectacle. Define that for us.
Yes. A spectacle is a visually striking performance or display. It implies something grand, something large-scale, something designed to wow you visually. If a musician sits on a stool with an acoustic guitar, that's a performance. If a musician blows up a gas station on stage, that is a spectacle.
And that is exactly what Tyler, the creator, did.
He did. He is a master of visual branding and performance art.
Describe the performance for us, because I saw the pictures and clips online, and it looked like a scene from an action movie.
It really did. He had this elaborate, detailed set built on stage that looked like a roadside gas station at night. There was a bright red sports car parked out front. And during the medley of his songs...
Quick definition break.
Yeah.
Medley.
A medley is a piece of music composed from parts of existing pieces, all played one after another, usually seamlessly. So instead of playing one full song, he played a mix of his biggest hits. A musical highlight reel.
Got it. Like a sampler platter of his music.
A perfect analogy. So during this medley, there were pyrotechnics, lighting effects, and then, at the climax, explosions. The gas station literally appeared to blow up in a controlled way. It was incredibly intense and cinematic.
And it wasn't just chaos for the sake of chaos, was it? It all tied into his win.
It did, beautifully. Tyler won the very first award for Best Album Cover for his album Chromacopia.
That's a brand new category.
It is, and I think it's a fascinating and very necessary addition. In the age of Spotify and Apple Music, we mostly see album art as a tiny little square on our phone screens. We often forget that it used to be this large, physical canvas, a 12-inch vinyl sleeve that you could hold and study.
Oh, I miss that. Holding the album, reading all the liner notes, looking at the artwork up close.
A lot of people do. And vinyl sales are actually way up. The physical format is making a comeback. By adding this category, the Academy is acknowledging that the visual identity of an artist is an integral part of the art. Tyler isn't just making sounds, he is building a whole world. The gas station performance, the costumes, the music videos, the album cover. It is all one cohesive artistic statement.
And he had a surprise guest during that performance too, right?
He did. In the middle of the song, the music stopped, and the amazing actress Regina King walked out and delivered this powerful spoken word speech. It was completely unexpected and just added to the theatricality of it all.
Another artist who definitely built a world on stage was Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh, absolutely. She didn't take home the big General Field Awards like Album of the Year or Record of the Year, which some people in the press called a snub, but she certainly won the battle for attention and conversation.
Her performance of her song Man-Child was all over social media the next morning. It was unavoidable.
Because it was so theatrical, she wasn't just singing a song, she was putting on a one-act play. The entire set was designed to look like an airport baggage claim. She was dressed as a pilot. Her backup dancers were all dressed as travelers with luggage.
And the details were just wild. I read she had an unusual microphone and even a live bird at one point.
She did. She was doing magic tricks as part of the choreography. It was campy, it was fun, it was over the top, and most importantly, it was memorable. And that brings up an interesting point about the Grammys. Sometimes winning the actual trophy is secondary to having the moment.
The viral moment, the performance everyone is talking about the next day.
Exactly. Sabrina Carpenter proved that you can win the night without winning an award if you can capture the public's imagination. She created a spectacle that people wanted to watch and share and talk about.
But sometimes the most memorable moments aren't the loud, explosive ones. They are the quiet, emotional ones. I want to pivot now to the Best New Artist category.
This is always one of my favorite awards of the night. It is a coronation. It is the music industry collectively pointing at someone and saying, you are the future.
And this year, the future is Olivia Dean.
A fantastic British neo-soul singer. Her album is just stunning, and her reaction to winning was just so pure.
Oh, the tears. It was genuine shock. You could see it on her face.
You could tell she had not prepared a speech. She was not expecting it. And her speech, when she finally gathered herself, it tied back so beautifully to the theme we discussed earlier with Bad Bunny. She talked about her lineage, her family.
She used a phrase that really stuck with me. She called herself a product of bravery.
A product of bravery. It is such a powerful and elegant way to frame your own success. She was talking about her grandmother, who is an immigrant who came to the UK. She was acknowledging that her ability to stand on that stage in a designer dress holding a golden trophy was paid for by the sacrifices and the courage of the generation that came before her.
It's the idea that we are all standing on the shoulders of giants.
Exactly. Whether those giants are famous musical legends like Luther Vandross or they're unsung heroes like Olivia Dean's grandmother, music is always in some way about connection to the past and carrying that legacy forward.
And then, speaking of connection, we have perhaps the most unexpected, most thought-provoking connection of the entire night. We have to talk about the Dalai Lama.
This is my favorite fact of the night. If you had the Dalai Lama wins a Grammy on your 2026 predictions bingo card, well, you are a genius and should be picking lottery numbers.
He won Best Audiobook, Narration, and Storytelling Recording for his book, Inner World.
Yes. And just look at who he beat. The other nominees in that category include Michelle Obama, Meryl Streep, and Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah, the host of the show.
Can you even imagine that? You are hosting the Grammy Awards, you are doing a great job keeping the show moving, landing jokes, and then you lose your own category to the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism.
You can't even be mad about that. What do you say?
You really can't. What are you going to do? Make a joke dissing the Dalai Lama? That is instant bad karma right there.
Instant bad karma. But it just shows the eclectic, sometimes bizarre nature of the Grammys. It's not just pop stars and rappers. It's meant to capture the full breadth of recorded sound, from a trap beat to spiritual teachings.
It does, and I think it reminds us that listening comes in many forms. We listen to dance, we listen to learn, we listen to find peace and meditate. The Grammys, at their best, try to honor all of that.
Okay, we have covered the art, we have covered the culture, but we need to take a step back and look at the machinery that makes all of this possible, the business side of things. Because if you were watching this on television, specifically on the CBS network, you were watching the end of a very long era.
That is right. This was a historic broadcast, not just for the awards that were given out, but for the network broadcasting it. This was the final year the Grammys will air on CBS.
That is wild to me. They have been on CBS for 54 years. That is more than half a century. My parents watched the Grammys on CBS. I grew up watching them on CBS. It felt like a permanent institution.
Nothing in media is permanent anymore. Starting in 2027, the Grammys are moving to the Walt Disney Company. That means they'll be broadcast on ABC, but more importantly, they'll be streamed on Hulu and Disney Plus Way.
Why the big move? Is it just about money?
Money is always a factor, of course. These broadcast deals are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but this is really about eyeballs. It's about where the audience actually is in 2026. We have to look at the ratings.
How were they this year?
Well, the show drew about 14.4 million viewers in total.
Which, I mean, that sounds like a lot of people.
It is a lot of people in a vacuum, but it's down about 6.5% from last year. But here is the really scary number for the network executives. Viewership among young adults, the key 18 to 49 demographic, plummeted by 20%.
20% in 1 year. That's not a drop, that's a cliff.
It's a cliff, and that is the demographic that advertisers pay top dollar to reach. That is the demographic that buys Bad Bunny albums and goes to see Kendrick Lamar on tour.
So if the young people aren't watching on traditional CBS, where are they?
They are on TikTok watching clips. They are on YouTube watching highlights. They were streaming. And that is why the move to Disney is so strategic. Disney owns Hulu and Disney Plus Rival. They are betting that by moving the show to a streaming-first model, they can recapture that learner demographic, your demographic, who consume content on their own schedule.
It makes complete sense. I mean, who under the age of 40 really sits down at 8 Brain Euro p.m. sharp on a Sunday to watch a 3.5-hour broadcast with commercial breaks anymore?
Exactly. Linear TV, that is traditional broadcast television, is struggling to keep up with the on-demand lifestyle we all live now. The Grammys are realizing that if they don't adapt their delivery model, they will become culturally irrelevant no matter who wins.
It's adapt or die.
It is, and we see that adaptation happening in the awards themselves, too. Not just the broadcast platform, but the categories. We mentioned the new Best Album Cover Award, but they also added Best Traditional Country Album this year.
Which was won by an artist named Zach Top.
Right. And this is interesting because country music as a genre is kind of fracturing. You have the pop country stuff that's all over the radio, and then you have this strong movement back to the old school traditional sound. By creating this specific category, the Academy is trying to keep everyone in the tent. They are saying, we have room for the new stuff, and we still have room for the traditional stuff.
They're trying to be everything to everyone, which sounds difficult.
It's very difficult, but necessary for their survival. And maybe the most important change is that they are also changing who decides the winners.
The voters.
Yeah.
The members of the Recording Academy.
Yes. The Academy invited 3,800 new members to join this year. And the demographics of those new members are very, very telling. 58% of them are people of color. 50% are under the age of 39.
So suddenly the historic Bad Bunny win makes a lot more sense from an institutional perspective.
It connects the dots perfectly, doesn't it? If you have a voting body that is older and predominantly white, they might not get Bad Bunny. They might not understand the cultural weight of a colloquialism like 100 by 35. But if you bring in younger, more diverse voters who live and breathe that culture, suddenly the results on stage start to reflect the actual culture on the street.
It is a great lesson in how systems work. Yeah. If you want to change the output, in this case, the winners, you have to change the input, in this case, the voters.
Exactly. And I think that is the most hopeful takeaway from the business side of things. The institution, as big and old as it is actually trying to listen. It is trying to evolve and stay relevant.
So we have traveled from Puerto Rico to South Korea, from the very first Grammys in 1959 to the new Disney streaming deal in 2027. We have unpacked a lot today.
We certainly have.
Before we wrap up, I want to circle back to some of the great vocabulary we touch on. We always say that learning words in their natural context is the best way to make them stick.
I completely agree. So let's quickly recap the big five from today's deep dive.
First up, the word you used for Bad Bunny's 100 by 35 line, colloquialism.
Right. That's that informal, conversational word or phrase that carries a specific cultural meaning. The language of home.
Second, milestone.
A significant stage in development, a key turning point or marker of progress, like the first Spanish language album-winning album of the year. That's a huge milestone.
Third, spectacle.
A visually striking, grand, over-the-top performance, like Tyler, the creator, blowing up a gas station, or Sabrina Carpenter's airport set.
Fourth, another one from Tyler's performance, medley.
A mixture of different songs or pieces of music played one after another, all blended together, that musical sampler platter we talked about.
And finally, a word we use to describe the crowd's reaction to legends like Tiana Taylor and Lauryn Hill taking the stage. Ovation, or more specifically, a standing ovation.
An enthusiastic show of appreciation from an audience where they stand up and clap for a sustained period. It is the ultimate sign of respect you can get from a live audience.
I hope our listeners can find ways to use some of these words in their own conversations this week. Maybe describe your lunch as a medley of yesterday's leftovers.
Or if you finally finish a big project at work, you can tell your boss you've reached a major milestone.
There you go. So as we close out, what is the final thought here? What is the big picture from the 68th Grammy Awards?
For me, the single synthesizing thought is the word borderless. For a long, long time, the American music industry had very clear borders. There were language borders, genre borders, physical borders. This year, those borders felt permeable, almost like they were dissolving. You can win the biggest prize in American music while speaking Spanish. You can win a major award as a virtual band from a Korean animated series. You can win with an audiobook about Buddhist philosophy.
The walls are coming down.
They are. And for you, for the English learner, that is such an exciting thing. It means that English isn't just a tool to fit into one specific box anymore. It is a tool to connect with a world that is becoming increasingly mixed, vibrant, and borderless.
And it connects right back to that theme of bravery and dreaming that we saw in the speeches from Bad Bunny and Olivia Dean. Even the executives moving the show to Disney. Everyone is taking a risk, breaking a barrier to reach for something new.
That really was the spirit of the entire evening.
So we want to turn it over to you, the listener. Which win or performance felt like a true milestone to you? Was it the historic win for Bad Bunny? Was it the K-pop victory? Or maybe he was just seeing Steven Spielberg finally get his EJT.
And we'd also love to know, how do you use music to learn English? Do you look up the lyrics to your favorite songs? Do you try to analyze the colloquialisms and slang? We would love to hear your strategies.
You can let us know in the comments or on our social media channels. Thank you so much for joining us for this special edition of Top 1 English Plus. We will be back soon with another deep dive. Until then, keep learning, keep listening,
and keep connecting the dots.